to Money Moves, where we put the focus on alternative assets, places investors are putting their money outside of the traditional stock and bond markets. We have a great show lined up for you today. We're going to be speaking with one of the first investors in the hot startup Pinterest. Jeremy Levine of Bessemer will be with us, tell us the kinds of tech companies he is backing right now. Plus, the 5 tech companies most likely to go public this year. Beloved blogger and Bloomberg contributing editor Paul Kudrowski will be with us. He's going to give us his picks, plus 3 more that may go through the IPO process, but that he says he doesn't care about. We'll give you both lists. First, though, if you take a look at stocks, they are lower for a second day. Alcoa slightly higher, unofficially kicking off earnings season after the close today. In the meantime, that is what stocks are doing. But as for hedge funds, we have the final performance numbers for 2012, and they show that for the 5th time in 7 years, arguably, you would have been better off putting your money in an index fund. Our hedge funds reporter Kelly Bitt with us now to take us inside the numbers. So, Kelly, first of all, what's the big picture here?
So hedge funds last year,
managers point out to both you and me, it's unfair in some respects to compare them to an index because hedge fund is a hedge. It is about preservation of capital and not always measuring against a certain index, right?
That's right. And there are certain
performing ones.
For worst performers.
Earlier with the macro funds, it really was a challenging year. I mean, as many people have even complained about, the invisible hand or visible hand of central banks have been intervening. Right. Any other standout names? We know Louis Bacon Moore even gave money back to investors last year. I just thought of that when you mentioned Europe, saying, listen, we got here too late to really make any kind of profits. We'd rather just give you your money back.
Right. And they're
of his investors, at least, they were actually happy, and it seems to have earned even more credibility. Just being honest, something to be said for that. Still, Kelly, thank you as always. Reporter. Well, we are going to stay on the hedge fund theme because billionaire manager Eddie Lambert has been the chairman of Sears. He holds a majority stake as well in the retailer, but now he's taking on another role. He is going to be the CEO. Lee D'Ambrosio stepping down for personal reasons. Sheila Damarajan here with me with a little bit more. And Sheila, I know this is years in 7 years.
Yeah.
This is a lot of change at the top for that company.
Revolving door at the top for this move, though. They say, look, not that much is really good.
Figures. How are they looking?
You know, not bad.
Very much. So Sheila Damarajan joining us there with the very latest on Sears and Eddie Lambert's role there. Well, from hedge funds to tech investing, robots, smartphones, just 2 of the types of products you can see if you're at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. There are gadgets aplenty. Our senior West Coast correspondent, John Ehrlichman, is there. Here's some of the best things he's seen so far.
This little guy is called
Well, John Ehrlichman with us now from Las Vegas. And John, of course, CES is not just about plant waterers and small tech. It's a big showcase place for big company lineups. So what are attendees most interested in? Well, thank you very much. Keep bringing us good stuff. For all the latest, of course, tune in to Bloomberg West. As you can see, John, as this neighborhoods, courtesy of Google. Google announced today it is going to be offering a free Wi-Fi wireless service in Chelsea. It's on the west side where Google's New York headquarters is located.
I think we all know that the internet has the power not
with the city as it tries to foster a hotter tech community. It helps Google as well, of course, which is going to benefit from wider access to internet and help its search engine as well. A little breaking news to alert you to here. Boeing, if you take a look at the stock, is in fact he invested in one of the hottest companies of last year, Pinterest. Controversy. Should the Redskins have sat the rookie quarterback on Sunday before he re-injured his knee? We're going to take a look at the economic arguments for and against. First guest is a partner at one of the country's top venture capital firms, Bessemer. It has helped to fund more than 100 startups that eventually became public companies. Jeremy Levine is here. He's a partner there. He has led early round of financing for numerous of the buzziest startups. Last year, Pinterest is one. Also an early investor in LinkedIn and numerous others. Jeremy, welcome back to Money Moves. So glad you're here. So you've obviously had particular focus and particular strength and success with some of your consumer consumer investments, and I'm thinking of LinkedIn, Yelp, Pinterest, just three of note. What is catching your eye right now for consumer-focused companies?
It's a good question.
I want to ask you, is there another dynamic going on other than just consumer internet being crowded? Is it just that there needs to be a little bit of breathing room before the next great disruptive idea can come forward?
There may be something to that.
Say whether you're investing in a company or not, obviously you're going to give more pointed advice to the companies you are investing in. Do you say, listen, I need to see your mobile strategy before I see anything else?
Absolutely. And in fact,
is pinning things and using it. What's the hope for this company?
I mean, I'll let the Pinterest guys themselves describe what they're trying to do with the company. Their bet's also gadgets. I'm a little bit of a gadget freak, and you can imagine, category after category where it might be applicable.
So I want to get back to something you said where you feel like perhaps this is a breathing year, for lack of a better term, for consumer internet companies, but you said that you feel like this year is going to be the year of enterprise growth. Companies that are catering to smaller companies are going to have a chance to really grow exponentially. Are you talking about cloud? Are you talking about big data? Or is it more specific within these categories?
So a lot of the things
Nothing really is going to change, meaning they've had their own internal people working on whatever they need. However they want to update their web or their products, they can do it. But it sounds like you're saying that even small businesses are now going to be better tech savvy, more tech savvy, thanks to some developments.
Yeah, and it's not even so much totally unfair playing field.
In your dorm room right now, listening to this conversation, you're ready to launch a company. If you can pivot or at least serve the needs of small businesses, make something affordable for them, that's at least a good place to start.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things, particularly young ones, is that you have to really understand.
Very much for the time, sharing your insights. Jeremy Levine joining us there, partner at Bessemer. We have a break to take. When we come back, Argentina's presidential plane is getting grounded, but that is not stopping the president. She is still hitting.
World foot.
We are back with a pop quiz. If you're the president of a country dealing with defaulted debt, your government plane may be seized at any moment by an angry hedge fund titan. What do you do? In Argentina, the answer is rent a jet. Sue Keenan has more on the story. So, Sue, first of all, who's the angry creditor?
Well, one of the big ones is Paul Singer.
Couple questions. First of all, I think you meant $1 million, not $1 billion, but the status of the bond battle, second only to the status of Hugo Chavez, right?
Yes, almost $1 million, 880,000 on the jet, on that. And let's talk about the restructuring that's going on.
Thank you very much, Sue Keenan, there with an interesting story about renting jets. Well, coming up, some tech companies have hesitated before going public after QB have played. Back in a minute. I'm Deirdre Bolton. Welcome back to Money Moves, where we turn our focus to alternative assets, places investors are putting their money outside of traditional stocks and bonds. Some of our top Bloomberg headlines this hour: stocks are lower for a second straight day. Earnings season kicks off. Aluminum company Alcoa reporting fourth quarter numbers after the close. S&P 500 still close to its 5-year high, though. That was reached last week. Meanwhile, Treasury's up today after getting off to the worst start of the year since 2009. Longtime J.P. Morgan Chase exec Jess Staley leaving the bank to join Blue Mountain Capital Management. He'll become a managing partner, also purchase a stake in the hedge fund. Staley served as head of J.P. Morgan's investment banking division until the reorg last year, following that huge trading loss in the bank's London office. President Obama may nominate a new Treasury Secretary as soon as this week. Bloomberg has learned that the president is close to nominating Chief of Staff Jack Lew to the job, but that has not been made a final decision yet. Current Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner has indicated he will leave by the end of the month, even if there is no deal to raise the debt ceiling. Taking a look at stocks lower, as we mentioned, across the board. We're going to take you back downtown to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Rewind anchor. Thank you very much. From one exchange to another, we're going to take you out to the CME. Michael Gurka is there, the Chicago. What stands out?
Well,
Levels then should we be monitoring?
Well, anything below 30 right now.
CME Managing Director of Spectrum Asset Management. When we come back, we're going to look at which tech companies are Facebook, Workday, Yelp, just a few of the tech companies that went public last year. Not all were raging successes. In fact, Facebook became borderline notorious with its stock performance until the fall. With a look at some of the tech companies that could go for it this year, we bring in Paul Kudrowski. He is for being with us.
Hi, Deirdre.
Before we talk about your hot list, the 5 companies you do think will go public this year, is there an overall trend? Are they business to business? Are they business to consumer? Is there a way to categorize them? Cloud, which makes me think of Cloudera. I know this is one on your list. Why is this a good candidate? Another one that is a big cloud play, or at least cloud-like play.
Yeah, it is.
Or storing all this data, quite another if you are on the receiving end and you have to analyze part of what is coming in. And I know Tableau is one company that you think is likely to go public this year, and it's basically making data. Gone through Cloudera, Tableau, Dropbox, Box. Your number 5 pick for going public this year is, we don't have a drum roll, but what is it?
Xterra, which is
you haven't mentioned is Twitter. Why is that?
right. Twitter, Twitter could come.
Paul Kudrowski joining us
Deirdre.
there, senior fellow at the Kauffman Foundation, Bloomberg contributing editor, joining us there with his list of 5 companies that he thinks will go public this year. When we come back, plenty of Monday morning quarterbacks saying the Redskins made a huge mistake playing the injured QB RG3 in the playoff loss. We're going to take a look. But fans have tons of questions. Star rookie quarterback Robert Griffin III sustained a devastating knee injury in last Sunday's NFL playoff game. Fans want to know if he should have stayed in the game after it was clear there was something wrong. Dominic Chu with me now. So, Dom, next year, will it be just as depressing for fans? How does this all going to work?
Well, it all depends on how you view. This is a very emotional situation, both for the coaching staff, the ownership, and all the fans in Washington. But if you look at some of the numbers, there might be an objective reason why you wanted to play RG3. He may have given you the best shot at winning 2003. An estimated gain of approximately 150% for the Giants. The Redskins have gone up in value about 60%, but look at these when you win a championship. So if you look at the value overall, there is a championship that makes your value that much greater. That's the reason why, if you look at it from a fan.
Possible to quantify this one man's contribution to the franchise?
Well, it could be. If the value of the franchise goes up by, say, double, you can say, all right, well, him winning a franchise was a huge factor. But take a look at just some of the day-to-day reasons why RG3 is such a huge part of this particular franchise. 10-win season, and then wins the division. They threw for about 19 touchdowns. Attendance at the stadium, home attendance on average went up by a single season since the NFL started keeping track of these records going back to 2006. And if you want to talk about NFL playoffs, that was up 285%. And just to give you how broad an appeal this is, 90.
Brand, Dom, thank you very much. Dominic Chu joining us there. A little bit of the statistics behind that game. When we come back, expanding your investment vocab with Bob's buzzword of the day, Series A crunch, a term being widely discussed in venture capital circles right now. Bob's back with us in just 2 minutes. Welcome back to Money Moves. Time for our daily buzzword, one investment term to help you improve your alt vocabulary. Bob Rice from Tangent Capital Partners is here. Series A crunch. Bob, we're talking a lot about this with the venture capitalists that are on. Jeremy Levine of Bessemer, one of note. So it seems like a lot of companies that have gotten angel funding are now having a hard time getting to the next step.
Right. And so that Series A refers to the first institutional round of investment that a startup is able to attract. These days, there are a lot more startups, and there's a lot of startup creating the so-called crunch because a higher percentage of the startups.
For this changing dynamic?
Well, several things do.
All of this for potential angel investors, do they have to be more careful than ever?
I think that the word I would use.
Now, some big caveats here, right? The old joke, there's a very big bar in Silicon Valley that's famous and nobody buys any drinks.
It's wildly popular. Yeah. And so in the West Coast.
Thank you, as always. Bob Rice joining us there, of course, from Tangent Capital. Bob's next buzzword. You can tweet it to him at BobRice3. That does do it for Money Moves. Coming up next, Mark Crumpton with Bottom Line. Changes on Capitol Hill, changes in the White House. He is going to be discussing just a few of the big issues that are on the landscape for the next 4 years, so you won't want to miss that. We also do want to wish Mr. Crumpton a very happy birthday.